everybody. Welcome to another episode of Level Up Lando, the show that takes you inside the struggles, the trials, the tribulations, and the occasional success. That is the everyday challenge of my life as I pursue my never ending effort of trying to level up. I am your host, Landon Like a Plane, and I'm coming to you from my bedroom, also known as Truscott Studios, right here in the very first day of winter on a snowy day in Aspen, Colorado. Today is Monday, November 17th at 3:19 p.m. And I'm just coming back from a pretty fun weekend. I went down to Denver and got to see Trey Band. Trey Anastasio, the lead guitarist of Fish, my favorite band, has his own band called the Trey Anastasio Band. I know, real creative name, but it works, and they're called TAB for short, Trey Anastasio Band. And they were playing down in Denver at the Mission Ballroom, which I've never been to, but it was a sold out show. He played 2 nights. Both nights were sold out, and I just rolled the dice going down there, hoping that I could get a ticket, and I got a ticket and got in. That said, I didn't have very much money to start that weekend, and I'm hoping that I can get the other end of this invoice soon, as I am trying to close out the invoice and get to the other side of it so I can start another project. So I did decide to roll the dice. I took a risk and it worked out. I was worried anytime I take a trip to Denver, there's a variety of things that can happen, between just having it snow while you're driving, to getting rear-ended from behind and having your vehicle totaled, to having the vehicle just break down on its own, totally fine, but just broken down. So I recently changed the oil on my truck and it was running really good. And I was like, I want to take you on a road trip. And so that's sort of where this kind of harebrained idea came from. That was like a week ago. And this week I was like, I got a few $100s. I can afford it if I decide to go. I'm going to go ahead and go. So I sent it. I went over the pass on the way down, which that was the last day that I could take the pass over. Now they're closing it for the winter season. I went Friday and Saturday at 4. They shut it. They shut the pass. So I came back yesterday on Sunday and I had to drive all the way around up 70 through Glenwood. But that's needless to say, I was able to pull it off. I made the trip down there. I stayed at some friends' houses. Friday night, sold out show, asking for a miracle, asking for an extra, seeing if anybody will hook me up. Show starts at 8. It's 8:06. He doesn't go on till 8:30. And 8:06, we find a guy who's selling 2 tickets and we're able to get in. Not to mention, one of my really good friends was able to get up on the rail. So the second set, at set break, I moved up onto the rail and had the very front row, and it was pretty spectacular to get to see the show from that close and get to see my hero, perform unobstructed. It was a really pretty amazing, spectacular experience. And then Saturday, I went ahead and went back to try to get in. I also grabbed a poster. There's a charitable organization called Conscious Alliance, where if you donate 25 pieces of non-perishable food, you get a free poster. So my friend who I was staying with didn't want to go, and so I ended up going again just by myself and trying to get in after I got my poster and threw it back in the truck, and then went back to see if I could get a ticket and stayed there. Went from like 6:30 to 8:30 trying to get a ticket again. Wasn't working it as hard. I was mostly just sort of over by the box office hoping that somebody would have an extra. And it didn't work out. So I didn't end up getting in, but did have a good time going down to Denver, ate some really, and yeah, it was a really enjoyable weekend. I'm glad that I rolled the dice to go down there on the chance that I could get in, and then I got in, and I didn't get in the second night, but I was all right not spending the money, and I could have got in. There was a guy who I was with that had an extra ticket, but then my buddy's friend came up and he hadn't been in yet, and he really wanted to go, so I was like, you can go in there. So I'll pass that karma along and just be kind of kind about, not trying to be too greedy. I did get my show, so I'm happy to let somebody else go get theirs. So that was all pretty good. And then I made the drive back up yesterday. And so, oh, I stopped at Costco on the way because as I'm running out of money again, um, which I'm supposed to be beyond this. I'm supposed to be on the other side of being broke. And so there's a part of me that's feeling somewhat disappointed in myself because here I am struggling again. Although, to be fair, and let's just be fair. It's part of the reason I don't have any money is because I paid December's rent already, and today's the 17th. So I've got November's rent covered and December's rent covered, with the hope that as I continue to make money and work, that now I'm ahead. So hopefully I can get the other side of this invoice. That's $3,500 coming, and that then December's rent's paid. So then I can use some of that to pay January's rent, and there we go. Now I'll have a little bit of money and January covered. So we'll see. I did find out that I didn't get the job as the content manager for the ski company, which is super disappointing because I'm an excellent candidate for that position. And they didn't even interview me. They just passed on my application altogether, which was somewhat upsetting because I was really hoping to get that role. It would have been awesome to get to fly drones and create content for the ski company. That said, they didn't want me, so they passed on that, and that then blew up my whole plan to have a job and a ski pass. So now I'm back to the drawing board. So I spent most of today sort of applying and trying to get another job, maybe as like a guest host, or I actually applied for a guest service agent over at the rec center because I actually ended up buying a rec pass there. So maybe I'll get a rec pass and a ski pass, and I can save money on both of those in one job. So that would be kind of cool. Um, but yeah, it was disappointing to learn that I didn't have, I didn't get the job, which I was really hoping that I would at least get an interview for. I was a really good candidate, but whatever. And I also didn't get my article published in the paper. So things, I don't know. It just kind of feels like things have come off the rails as far as being in the flow and things just sort of happening. That was happening for a little bit. And now it just feels like I'm back to trying to create things to make them happen. And as I'm trying it, it's not working out. I'm getting, rejected. So whatever. That's just the ebb and the flow. But that is what has been the case. So, with that said, I'm looking forward to getting to the other side of this invoice. I did finish the videos. His assistant is now going to give me some editing notes, which I haven't received from her. So I'm hoping that she gets them to me today. She was supposed to get them to me this morning, but didn't hear anything. So maybe I'll give her a call after this. I don't know. We'll see. But I also kind of forgot that while I do these, we do the daily stoic, which I wasn't really feeling this podcast. I was like, what should I do? It's kind of gloomy and snowy and cold, and I don't have anything to do as far as work. I'm trying to get through these videos, but I can't get through them because I need that notes, and I haven't got them. So there's a part of me that's feeling like, I don't know, disappointed and anxious, and like I said that I was going to do something, which is not be broke anymore, and I find that I'm in a situation where I'm struggling, and I'm not really, and it's just a feeling. It's more of a feeling of like, oh, I said I wouldn't ever have, I only have a couple $100 in my bank account again, and now I do. I'm in that exact situation, not even that long later. Although I don't have the full amount, so I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword there. On the one side, if I did have the rest of the money, I wouldn't feel like this. On the other side, I don't have the rest of the money, so I do feel like this. That way, I'm feeling like I'm learning the same lesson I already learned, and that is, the saying I like is, if you learn a lesson, if you make the same mistake more than once, it's a choice. And so, in that way, I suppose me taking the risk of going down to see Trey was a choice. And in that way, that's a big reason that I don't have. If I just stayed here and hunkered down, I'd still probably have, multiple hundreds instead of just like one. And so, yeah, the perpetual lesson continues to be taught. And I don't know. I'm hoping that I learn it. I'm hoping I can get beyond it and get to a point where I'm way ahead. That's my vision, which is kind of why it's disappointing that that ski co job didn't work out, because that was like 60, 70 grand base pay. So now I'm going to be going back to work for like hourly and like try to do it as part time as possible. But with that said, that's what the Daily Stoic is for. So when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling doubtful, when you're feeling disappointed, when you're feeling like what was once easy and not that difficult to do is no longer easy and it's now difficult to do, you got the Daily Stoic. And so we're going to jump into that in just a second, but let me let you into my mind a little bit. So yeah, just feeling a little bit like the struggle's back on, and that I really felt like I'd overcome it. And also still feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome and a little bit concerned about what this lady's notes are going to be as far as having to continue to edit, and hoping that I can get to the other side of these videos so that we can get on to the next project, where then I will feel much more established and comfortable working with this guy and creating future video and content, which he's already talking about. And so in that way, I'm happy to continue to shoot with him and make videos with him. I just want to get there, and we're kind of just, I've been shooting since September. These videos, I've been making these videos since September. It's now November. So, what was, $10,000 job over the course of 1 month has now spread itself across three, or two. So September, October, November. So two, and that's now like $5,000 a month, so I don't know. There's a part of me that's definitely feeling anxious, ready to move on, and maybe a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Like I doubt my own skill, I doubt my own worth, and in that way, getting to the other side of this first invoice validates me and lets me release any concerns I have over. I want to make sure this guy loves the videos I'm making, and right now I don't feel that way. And so when we get to the other side of the first invoice, I'll start to feel that way a little bit more. In that way, I also sent my drone off. I had to send it back. It flew away, and I've been trying to get another drone. And I recently sent it off to them. So hopefully they will assess that it is a flyaway and send me a new one for free, which would be awesome. All right, here we go. November 17th. This is the Daily Stoic. 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Thank you, gentlemen, for putting it together. When philosophy is wielded with arrogance and stubbornly, it is the cause for the ruin of many. Let philosophy scrape off your own faults rather than be a way to rail against the faults of others. Seneca, Moral Letters 103.4b 5a. Remember, the proper distinction of philosophy, of all the things we're doing here, is focused inward, to make ourselves better and to leave other people to task for themselves and their own journey. And to leave other people to that task for themselves and their own journey. Our faults are in our control, and so we turn to philosophy to help scrape them off like barnacles from the hull of a ship. Other people's faults, not so much. That's for them to do. Leave other people to their faults. Nothing in Stoic philosophy empowers you to judge them, only to accept them, especially when we have so many of our own. Well, that now brings up something for me that I didn't share yet, which is an interesting thing. So, I recently was told that one of the guys, a year ago at Christmas, uh, I got into like a confrontation at the Eagles Club, and I in a 2 week ban from my upstairs neighbor Patrick. And in that way, it was a pretty big drama and something that I've never really experienced. But part of the fallout from that was that the guy who was not a member was asked to leave the club later that night, and he called the police and filed a false police report. And they were going to arrest him, but the reason that they didn't arrest him is because our club said let us handle it internally. So in that way, that guy ended up, I was told that guy was banned for life. was fine with me because I don't really ever want to see that guy again. So I was recently told that he's allowed back in. He's allowed back in, and he's going to be applying for a full membership. And that's a bit of a problem for me. But in that way, what this thing was just saying is that my own faults are my own, and my own weaknesses are my own. And I'm not supposed to try to help anybody else be better than they are, unless they're asking, unless they're consciously and deliberately asking for my advice or wisdom. Um, and I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people like to think that their moral position is the superior one, and that their life and worldview is the superior one, and often will then look down and judge somebody else who's not doing it to their standard or their way. And in reality, everybody has their own path, everybody has their own journey. And it's not for you to try to help them be better, because at the end of the day, they likely don't want your help. And even if you do help them, it's probably not going to be something that sticks. It's not something that that they wanted to have happen. So I've really learned that lesson a lot earlier in life. So that's not one I necessarily need to embody. Although, as I'm sharing with you right now, it comes back up. And so that's what is an interesting thing, is that as I'm trying to navigate through my life, I find that at times when I'm doing a really good job avoiding what I like to consider to be unnecessary drama, that I get pulled into it somehow. It's the same thing that happened on that Christmas a year ago. Like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like, and then somebody starts putting hands on me, and it's like, wow, how did I end up here? But I draw that kind of thing to me, clearly. And here it is again, almost a year later. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about how I want to handle that. And I can feel my ego being engaged in that. And it's, yeah, just an interesting thing to kind of consider about how, like, saying something to the effect of, leave other people to their faults. It's like but at the same time, it's a communal space. And to a certain extent, there are certain people who I want to share that community with, and there are certain people who I don't. And the ones that I don't, if they try to come in, and they infringe on my space and my good time, I feel like I should be able to fight for that and push back. And I'm not necessarily trying to correct their faults. I'm just trying to protect my community, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that necessarily. So I don't know, but let's go ahead and take a look into the little green book of accountability here. What do we got? Today's November 17th. November 17th. All right, we need to do a business plan, taxes, a budget, which I have all this stuff. I just really have to kind of coordinate it, organize it. Clear memory, Doug invoice, look for more clients. Even know what else? Job, no drone flyaway, sent that back. Oh, I talked to Heidi. And I talked to Raul. I have to sign up for Michael. These are meetings that I have. And Michael. So that's good. We're crossing some stuff off. those are little level ups. Let's see. Let's see. I still need business cards. Anything else? Oh, not looking like it. Okay. Okay, I did those. Wrote those 2 articles, but they're not publishing them, which is annoying. So there you go. There's a little list of things that are on there. And, I could try and plug away and get through them. Which ultimately, at the end of the day, is why I really like doing these podcasts. It really helps me to just sort of vent, organize my thoughts, and just sort of come to a clear understanding of what I need to accomplish, with my day, my week, just the time that I have. And that is something that before this, I didn't want to do the podcast. I was just sort of sitting there like, I don't know, feeling anxious and agitated and I'm trying not to turn on the TV. I'm trying to be productive and continue to work. It's 3 o'clock on a Monday, it's 3:40 on a Monday. So I'm trying to move the business forward, and there's a part of me that thinks that like, if you're not grinding and you're not working like 16, 18, 20-hour days, that you're not actually going to succeed. But then there's another part of me that's like, why is that? I got to question that assumption. And how about maybe, what if the assumption is, what if you just do enough work to make it successful? And it doesn't have to be more work than you need to do. It's just you do, enough that it actually becomes a success. And so in that way, it's like maybe you don't have to dig the whole irrigation trench from the field to the river in one day, and the little effort that you put in on a daily basis helps get you there. And that's enough. That's okay. You don't have to burn yourself out trying to work your way to success. And so that's something that I feel, and I'm just trying to, embrace that as more of the, why can't it be that way, instead of like, yeah, if you don't work a lot, then you're not really making it go forward. And, I'm just waiting on these notes, but I'm still trying to figure out how to use my Monday and make it go forward. It's just the life of an entrepreneur. But I did apply to a bunch of jobs today, so I was productive in that way. I applied to guest host job, and I applied to work at the rec center, and I think a couple more, but those are the 2 that I actually care about. So, and I applied for a grant. So I'm not, it's been a productive. That's like I'm saying, it's not like I just sat there and didn't do anything all day. It's just that I'm getting ready to go probably turn on the TV and just chill out because it's a cold, snowy day. And now we're entering the winter season where I'm going to have to start trying to figure out how to occupy each. I played the guitar already, so that's a level up. Yay! I could read. These are things that I'm going to try to figure out how to use my time to continue to be productive and create habits and that are healthy, that I enjoy, that help further me as a human. So I think that's about it. Today's episode's a little bit short of 30 minutes, but that's all right. We'll let you guys go early. So with that, I hope that if you're feeling how I'm feeling and things are going well and then they're not going well and then they're going well again, and you can relate to the life of Level Up Lando, that I hope that you know that all things pass in time, and that really your reality is shaped your mentality. And so what you think is really important to pay attention to, and how you're talking to yourself. And I am very fortunate and lucky because I love myself and I forgive myself. And so I'm allowed to make mistakes and I'm allowed to fuck it up, because there is no fucking it up. And if you can forgive yourself for the mistakes that you're making and get back to the business of trying to make your dreams come true, the faster that you can do that, the faster you're going to realize it's going to happen again. You're going to come off the rails. You're going to fuck up. This is just the nature of life. And so with that, I hope that you can use me as an inspiration and an example to recognize that sometimes it's going well and sometimes it's not, but all the time I'm grateful to be alive, and all the time I am blessed that I have my life, and I consider it to be a miracle. And so even through the hard times, and when you start embracing that, they're not so hard. And life actually is not just something that you want to tolerate. It's something that you really invigorates you and enjoy, the full experience, both the suffering and the joy. So I hope that you get to have more. Oh, Todd Snyder died. Man, that is a huge blow. For those that don't know who Todd Snyder is, he's a singer songwriter of Americana music, and one of my personal heroes. He's very much like a John Prine, and she actually studied under John Prine's songwriting, and he died. His death was a terrible death. He beaten up while he was on tour in Salt Lake City, and went to the hospital, and they turned him away because he kind of looks like a hippie. And so he didn't get medical care, and then when he got home, he was recovering, and started having a hard time breathing, and then he went to the hospital, and they diagnosed him with walking pneumonia, and he died. And he had some really great one-liners, but one of them was, "May your hopes may your hopes drive you more than your doubts." Something like that. And yeah, that's how I'll let you guys go. May your hopes drive you more than your doubts. You can always choose to love your dreams more than you hate your struggle. So that's Alex Hormozy. Same sentiment. And yeah, it's not to say it's not a struggle. It's not to say it's not easy. It's definitely a struggle, and it's definitely hard. But when your dreams outweigh your doubts, it's pretty easy to pursue and to press through and to carry on. And so with that, I am your host, Landon Like a Plane.